Hello and welcome to this episode of Sticky Note Marketing. I am your host, Mary Czarnecki, and I am so excited to bring you this next installment of our guest expert series. And today I have an amazing guest, Carla Titus here. And Carla is a finance expert. So if you've ever had money questions, this is the episode for you. And she's not just any finance expert. She's got 15 years of combined corporate financial planning, analysis, strategy, and established businesses consulting experience. So she's a fractional CFO who provides financial consulting and advisory services to business owners. Her priorities for their clients range from growing profits, having cash in the bank, which, who doesn't love that, and paying themselves well so they can build personal wealth. So welcome, Carla. So excited that you're able to join us here on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I can't wait to have this conversation and share all the wisdom.
I love it. Well, I know finance and cash flow are big topics for everyone, but there may be someone here who hasn't met you before. So just to start, would you mind helping people understand what is it that you do and who you work with?
Yeah, so as a fractional CFO, we come in to really lead the finance function in your company. And you probably have worked with your bookkeeper and your CPA in the past, right? If you're established business, you probably have them in your team already. And you've gone to them with money questions and they've looked at you kind of funny. Like, why are you asking me questions? Just let me do my job. I don't really have time. I have 400 other clients to attend to. And maybe I have the knowledge, but maybe I don't want to share it, or maybe I don't have the time to share it. And best of luck to you. I'll see you in a year. I'll talk to you at the end of the month when I have to deliver you my bookkeeping, but really just don't ask me questions. I'm not really the person, right, to answer those for you. So that's really when you realize you might need a financial leader in your company to really help you answer those money questions. That could be as simple as, can we spend some money on marketing or can we hire another person? Can we afford to do that? Do we even have enough cash in the bank to operate for the next 3 months? And if you haven't asked those questions, but you kind of get that gut feel where you can't sleep at night or you're just like concerned and you know that something is just off in your numbers and haven't had the ability to pinpoint exactly what, that's what a fractional CFO is going to come into your business to do, is give you that clarity. Also start to plan things proactively, which your bookkeeping and accounting team are looking at present and past. They're not really looking forward. They're not saying, well, what would you like your revenue goals to be for the next year? How much profit would you like to have in the business? And have you paid yourself enough this year, or should we increase that over time? And having that forward-looking, proactive approach instead of just reacting to things that are happening, it's going to really help you have that peace of mind, clarity as you move forward into scaling and growing your business. So when you have the financial questions and you really need someone to guide the direction of the business going forward, that's when you really want to partner with a CFO that's proactively helping you plan for the business. You have that gut feeling that says things might not be exactly the way they're supposed to be from a numbers perspective, but you really can't pinpoint the problem. A CFO can tell you exactly where in the numbers that problem is and also how to solve it. So they're partnering with you to make better financial decisions in the company, analyzing scenarios, projecting out some costs and some revenue goals, maybe if you don't know what those are, helping you get yourself paid more if that is also a priority, and making sure the company is financially viable and profitable for the long term. Again, you don't want to be reacting to everything that's happening in your business financially. You want to be proactively planning and thinking through, if this happened, what would I do before it actually happens? So that way you're prepared and you can quickly pivot to get the results that you need. And we also look at the comprehensive view financially of your business to make sure that everything is healthy, everything is running at the right levels. And if you have too much cost, that we're addressing that we're saying, hey, up ahead is going to be a hefty bill. We should prepare for that and save now while we can, or maybe the seasonality in your business that happens every year. Somehow it's a surprise to you, just like, Christmas happens to people and they didn't prepare and save for it. Same thing. You should know Christmas is coming and that you should save up the next, the 3 months ahead to afford those bills. Again, we're just thinking through the financial plan proactively and comprehensively to give you the peace of mind and clarity so you can sleep at night, so that your business is here for the long term and profitable.
I think that's such a good point because, so many business owners, especially ones that, have had success, and have started to grow and have gotten to this new level in their business, they might have initially put those initial partners in, right? The bookkeeper, like you were saying, and maybe a CPA, but they're not looking at their business the same way you are, right? That forward look. Now, I know there might be some people that aren't really confident when it comes to their knowledge or their ability to have a healthy cash flow. So why don't we just break it down so everyone's on the same page? What is cash flow? When we say cash flow, what really should we be thinking of?
Yeah, so this is the money that's available to you to be able to utilize to grow the business or invest back in the business or even just pay yourself and pay your payroll expenses. And that cash, that money needs to be allocated appropriately. And what I find often is that people, one, they're just operating based on what they see in the bank account, but they don't know that they have an outstanding bill coming next week for $10,000 that's about to take their balance down drastically. So they're like, oh, but I have money. And they forgot that up ahead, just a few days later, there's going to be all these bills to be paid. So knowing what cash flow you have, meaning what money is in the bank available. And sometimes that could even include a line of credit or credit cards that you could leverage temporarily for short periods of time to be able to pay and afford the things that the business needs. It will really help you know, can I afford to fill in the blank? And I think business owners forget. They look at the balance today and they're like, oh, I'm good. I forgot that they have commitments in the next 2 weeks. That's going to take the balance down by half. And then they plan to spend the whole thing. And now they're in trouble, right? We want to prevent that from happening. That's where we call cash flows, that money available for your business to run on.
Now, I can imagine that, there might be some people listening who are thinking, oh yeah, that is me. I do kind of just look at my balance in my bank account and that's how I manage my business finances or my quote unquote cash flow. So what is the first step? So if someone hasn't really taken this proactive approach, what might be the first step to managing it?
Yeah, so you want to start by putting in place a cash flow projection. And if you've never done projections before, this can be, a little tough one to crack on your own. And that's why sometimes we say bringing in someone who has the expertise and knowledge to forecast might be helpful to give you that perspective of what you might be missing. But it's really projecting out week by week. Sometimes we do a 13-week rolling cash flow forecast that says in the next 13 weeks, what do we expect our cash to be? What level would it be at? What influx of cash, meaning cash coming in, and when? The timing is really what the critical aspect of this projection is. And then when is cash leaving our company and the timing of it again, and really kind of breaking it down week by week. And this is only necessary if you are in a cash crunch. If you have plenty of cash flow and a big runway, let's say months of payroll in the bank, then this might not be necessary. It might be a little too much work for you to do, but maybe you're looking at this on a monthly forecast basis so that you have an idea in the next 2-3 months, are we okay on cash flow? Yes, because we have this runway. We're bringing in sales. We're also spending. But if you're going to make big investments and you're going to have a lot of cash outflows beyond the normal amounts that you expect your business to be spending at, then you might want to look at your monthly cash flow projection and say, hey, I might be doing that website redesign next month, and that's going to be $10,000. So I need to make sure I have enough runway to get me through the next 2-3 months until we'll level out, make enough profit to cover that cost. And by the way, the timing of it, it's just magically how not aligned it ever is, right? So you have bills going out the door and cash not coming in on time. People delay their payments. They forgot to pay you. The invoice got missed. Maybe their card got declined. Life happens. Things happens to other business owners too. Maybe they're in financial trouble. So they might not be able to pay your bill. So just keeping that in mind and knowing that sometimes invoicing gets delayed and then you also have bills to pay gives you a good idea of how much cushion do you want to have to just make sure you don't have to be so stressed out about cash flow going down over time. And then those projections, looking at it weekly or monthly, will tell you, hey, by the way, in 6 weeks from now, you're going to have a cash deficit, meaning you're going to need to put in $2,000 of cash into your business to just get through that week. But guess what? Now you know ahead of time, you got 6 weeks till that problem comes up. So maybe you just ramp up your sales and make 2,000 more in sales, or even better, make an extra 10,000 in sales. And then you don't have that problem anymore. But it's when we don't look at it ahead that we get in trouble, because there's nothing you can do when it already happened versus when you know it's going to happen 6 months ahead or 6 weeks ahead.
Right. That ability to be prepared, like you said. I mean, I work with from a marketing perspective with people all the time, people who are saying, oh, well, I want to plan a launch for next year. And then I also work with people who say, I need a cash injection now because of exactly those scenarios, right? So I love the idea of, if we want to do a cash injection, great, but let's not do it because we have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
how much of a runway do you recommend? And does it depend? Are there certain things that people might need to think about? Okay, if I'm this kind of a business, it needs to be longer or shorter.
Yeah, so definitely the size of business is going to dictate a lot of the needs for cash. Also, the stage of whether or not the business is just maintaining versus scaling and growing, which takes a lot more cash injection or just cash flow in general. And I also preface this by saying, at the end of the day, the one that needs to sleep at night comfortably in their bed and lay their head on their pillow is really the business owner. So whatever makes you comfortable to be able to sleep at night, because our risk tolerance for how much risk we're willing to take really vary depending on who you're talking to. So start with that. How much do you need to be able to sleep at night? Then obviously we have certain guidelines we utilize with clients. We want to have 2-3 months of payroll at least, if not more, including your own pay as the owner, to allow for time for us to, again, react to whatever thing that happened and create a new plan that sets us on a new direction to course correct to hit the goals again. So the goal is to buy you the time. And if you have no runway, you can't buy the time and you're now having to borrow or desperately try to find money to pay payroll in 2 weeks. That's a big stressor and a problem, because sometimes banks will not lend you money when you're desperate. So that's the other piece of that. You don't want to be in that situation. And then obviously over time, as the business is scaling, we would want to have even an additional cash cushion to inject for that growth, because as you know, you're going to hire, cost of hiring, it's expensive. You got to wait 2-3 months till that person is up and running and delivering your results and actually being break even, or at least giving you some, back for what you invested in them and generating enough for the business. And then sometimes you're like buying additional things or spending on one-off expenditures required to scale that normally wouldn't be there. So understanding what are some of those costs ahead, knowing what that growth is going to cost you, is going to really tell you how much cash you should have available. And if you don't have enough, you need to either go borrow some, because you're going to be able to make it up when you have the results financially to cover those costs, or you might have to come up with some personal money to the table to help infuse that growth. So it really depends on, are you scaling or not? And then what number really helps you sleep at night. But at the very least, please have at least 2-3 months of payroll just in case, so that you don't have to go without pay.
Right. 2-3 months, definitely. And I know there are so many business owners too that are so still involved in their business that, if they get sick or they get in an accident or something happens in their personal life, that can directly impact the business and the sales and everything else that's going on. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you don't want to live with the thought that your business is going to go under the minute that you become sick and end up in a hospital for a few days. Like, you should have more runway than that. Yeah. You should be able to recover, come back to it, or leave it in charge of someone else in your company that can do that for you. And that cash runway is really just going to give you that peace of mind knowing, okay, we got some time to make some plans and, get back to work and get back to health before we get back to work.
Now I have a question that, may be percolating in the minds of some of the folks listening, which is, at least in my experience, talking to successful individuals, whether it's been in my corporate career or as an entrepreneur and a business owner, there are a lot of people who are making a lot of money and they're generating income and they're successful, but there's a lot of kind of shame around finances and around their books and the way that they're actually managing their cash flow. When you speak to a client like that, or when you start working with someone like that, what's one way, or how do you help them get over that so that you can actually help them make progress, move forward?
Yeah. And that's very common and always happens behind closed doors, right? That's why they come to us, because they know they can trust us to, with gentle care, tell them the truth and develop a plan to fix the problems. But it's very common. I think the more people make, the harder it is to stay profitable. And we focus so much on top line revenue, but there's people making millions of dollars every year that are not keeping any of it. They're break even, or maybe they're losing money. So like, don't get fooled by those metrics. Those are not the real metrics we want to be looking at. We want to be looking at profit and take home pay after taxes. And what the business owner gets to walk away with every year. That's really what matters to us. Whatever else anyone else is saying probably is just vanity metrics, and you don't want to put too much attention to it. But let's not just scale for the sake of scaling, and let's really take into account, what does the business owner really need the business to do for them? What do they need to walk away with pay wise for this to be worth it? Because honestly, you could just go work a job, collect a paycheck, clock in and out, and be done. Or you can build a business that really generates you additional wealth above and beyond what your job could have done for you, because it is a lot of work and a lot of effort. And we understand that. So when business owners come to us, maybe embarrassed or ashamed of their situation, we say, it's just the numbers. This does not reflect on your personal value, on who you are, what you've accomplished. And by the way, we can fix it. So that's the good news, is we look at it and we say, here's our starting point. And it doesn't matter how bad it might seem to them. We've seen it all, trust me. And we do not judge. We're here to support them in making progress towards the actual goals we want to see. And that is more important to us. We need to measure the starting point. So think of it as like, this is just where we're getting started. And if we show progress, it doesn't matter if it's still negative, a negative, a negative, a negative, as long as one day we're positive and we have a plan to get to that, then it's progress to us. Progress is just as good. And making sure that they are able to survive that too, right? Like the time it takes to turn things around, it's important. But just know that we get excited by that because it's a challenge, it's a problem we can solve, and it's something that we can support you with. And who else are you going to turn to talk about this? Your spouse is probably not going to hear it. And your employees definitely do not want to know that you can't make payroll and that things are bad. And your accountant and bookkeeper, we already addressed that some of them are just not equipped or not desired to support you in that way. So that's really where you turn to a CFO to open it all up and be like, yep, this is what we're dealing with. What you got to help us solve this problem?
I think that's so powerful, because it sounds like the biggest mistake they could make is just do nothing, right? To just sit in that space of, oh, well, I don't want to look at it. I'm just going to ignore it. It'll be fine. It's okay if it's negative, but we can now create the plan, right? We can now create the plan so you don't have to continue feeling like this.
Yeah. And so many times, because you're so in it as a business owner, it's really hard to see perspective or clarity on like what could be possible. So we come in with our fresh perspective. We can give you also what has worked well in the past for other businesses that we can adapt for your situation. We also know where the problem areas are. I can say, it's actually not as bad as you think. It might feel like it's horrible and, it's about to end, but actually with a few changes here and there that we tell you what they are, and you start to execute, you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they get really excited because now they're like, we have possibilities. We can actually make this work. And we get them excited about their business again because, for so long they just feel drained and stressed and like overwhelmed. And we want them to be excited. They go into business to do what they love. We want to enable that. And we want to be able to support them in seeing the vision of what could be possible, and also seeing the numbers that lined up with what they need to be able to see from their business.
Amazing. Yeah. Because that financial worry and just even doubt, lack of clarity can be so incredibly draining. So I know, Carla, you shared with me that you have an offer that you would love to share with the crowd that actually is going to give them a great first step forward. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So everybody that is looking for a proactive approach to their finances that, again, has that bookkeeper, CPA, maybe doing some work, but they really don't have clarity on the forward looking projection wise. And they don't really feel confident to tackle projections on their own because they maybe have never done it, or they feel it's really daunting and overwhelming to get started. They can reach out to us on our website, wealthworthwithin.com. There's a tab for projections area where we provide an annual budget plan and work with you alongside you, but we also get to create that projection for you. And it feels like a conversation about your business, but we're really gathering the insights and inputs and assumptions we need to create that financial plan. And what that does is when we turn that around back to you, not only have we answered a lot of the questions that maybe you haven't had time to think about your business, but we strategically are mapping out what needs to happen in the next 12 or 18 months to really achieve your goals, and defining what those goals might be if you don't have them already, and then give you clarity on like, what is the cost structure? What are the revenue goals? So what are the profits that I need from the business? How much do I need to pay myself and take home from this? What are also, just the big picture questions that you might have around hiring or like scaling and then be able to grow your business that are lacking. And then we create a comprehensive plan delivered to you, the projections, and then that becomes the action step on how you're going to reach your goals for the next year. So you go into the new year feeling like you know exactly what you need to go do, and you have the goals that you need to hit and the metrics you want to hit to be successful in your business. So we love that offer. It's a one-time fee. It's a project-based service. So there is no ongoing retainer cost after that. You can choose to work with us or not after that to help you execute on that plan, but it's not a requirement. And we love it because people get that clarity they're seeking without also the cost of having that CFO on retainer.
I love that. And I know people love goal setting and thinking big and what are those next steps, but I love how this actually then gives you the plan to say, okay, how am I actually going to make this happen? What might I need to prioritize? And maybe I can even imagine in a couple scenarios, people saying, oh, I can do that. Have you ever had clients actually come to you and start working with you and be like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. There's like ideas in their head, there's programs and things that they haven't really had time to think about. So when we sit down, we look at different revenue streams, we see what are the possibilities. Oh, how's that program going? Could we expand it further? And they get really excited. They're like, oh, I've been wanting to do that, but I had no idea what could be possible. And then we work through that. Maybe we're working through pricing strategy, or we're working through compensation structure for their team, benefits they want to roll out, and be able to see if we can afford all those things, because they want to do so much for their employees and be able to give them, a good lifestyle. And I see that in a lot of our business owners, they're like overly generous. So I kind of sometimes have to be like, and here's what we can afford, a reality, right? Unless we hit this new level of revenue goals, then we can do more for our teams. But I think it's just checking on that, what's possible, and really starting to look at opportunities, which really light them up and then makes them want to fall in love with their business again.
I love that. Fantastic. Well, I hope you guys all had your sticky notes out and were filling them out as Carla was sharing her wisdom with us. Thank you so much, Carla, for joining us today. And I will be sure everyone gets the links to the annual planning as well as to your website. Is there anywhere else people should follow you to maybe get the behind the scenes or connect with you if they have more questions?
Yeah, if you want to know about what we're up to in our business, because there's a lot going on, including setting this office up, actually, we have a monthly newsletter that we sent out to let you know what's going on with, our team, the business, what we're up to. So feel free to sign up on our website, wealthworthwithin.com. There'll be a pop-up screen for you to sign up for the newsletter. We only have time to send one a month, so don't worry, we won't be spamming you with anything else. And then if you want free educational content and learn more about business finances, because you're not maybe ready to hire a CFO, but you want to follow along with some of the knowledge and expertise we share for free, you can find us on social media at Wealth Worth Within. We hang out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram a lot. And we're always available for a call if you're ready to hire a fractional CFO on your team and want to, bring us into that leadership to help guide the financial future of your business.
Fantastic. And if you're watching or listening this, wherever you're joining us from, those links will definitely be accompanying this episode. So thank you again, Carla. Appreciate having you here on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a really fun conversation.
Absolutely. And to all of you guys listening and watching, thank you for joining us here on Sticky Note Marketing. I am your host, Mary Czarnecki, and I will see you at the next episode.